Hello and welcome to iQuanta's channel dedicated to your success as a B School aspirant. My name is Vikrant and I am your personal coach for all things related to English, communication skills, later VAT, PI, and of course the mental aspects of preparation. If you are new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe and press that bell icon. See, we keep on bringing a lot of sessions for you. Quite a few of them are on strategy. A lot of them ensure that you get to practice some really high quality questions with some really high quality faculty members. So if you have not turned the notifications on, how would that happen? So of late, I have been getting a lot of questions on how do I approach the VARC section in the mock exam. So yaar, itne sawal, itne log, and I thought, hey, why not really answer this question exhaustively, thoroughly, so that you get to benefit, and I'm sure this strategy will lead to great scores for you as you move forward. So here is attempting VARC in the mock, and eventually this is what will allow you to attempt VARC section in the actual CAT exam as well to the best of your ability. So let's dive into this. What exactly is your goal? Now, when you ask me about the strategy, what is it that you want to truly, really achieve? What's your goal? So at the end of the day, we know that we want to get as many marks as possible in as less a time as possible, isn't it? You want to be fast, you want to be accurate, and the ideal is to end up attempting all the questions with 90% plus accuracy, and maybe, since we are talking about ideal, even 100% accuracy, right? So in such a scenario, how do we really approach the paper? So the equation in the mock is very simple, very straightforward. You're going to get 40 minutes, and in these 40 minutes, you will have 24 questions. Now, will you be able to attempt all the 24 questions in these 40 minutes? Well, the correct answer is, I don't know. It's only when I sit down to write the exam that I'll realize it. It is something that you'd get to know only after the exam is over. So you may end up attempting all the 24, you may not be able to attempt all the 24. So it means that there is a possibility that you may run out of time before you have gone on to attempt all the questions, isn't it? And as a result, in such a scenario, what do? You would like to start with questions that are easy, and then move towards questions which are difficult, so that in case you are not able to attempt all of them, you are at least leaving the difficult questions behind, and that will allow you to maximize your score on the basis of your current level of preparation. Fair enough? So, what are those 24 questions all about? We'll have reading comprehension, we'll have verbal ability questions. So, if I go by the previous year trends, the last 3 years trend, you should see 16 questions spread over 4 passages in RC, and you should see 8 questions from verbal ability. So let us deal with both of these things separately once. So our goal is to go from easy to difficult. So imagine you are moving towards reading comprehension segment of the passage. So the first thing that I want you to do is passage prioritization. Do not go ahead and start attempting the passages from the first one to the last one. Check the priority order. Check which passage is easy for you and which is difficult for you, and then plan your attempts out accordingly. Now, how do you prioritize passages? Very simple. The first thing that you need to look for is your level of familiarity with the subject matter. The passage can be based on politics, psychology, ecology, economics, anthropology, biology, whatever. How familiar you are with the subject matter. The more familiar you are, the easier it is going to be for you. The less familiar you are, the more challenging it can turn out to be. Then you should also look at the kind of language that is used in that passage. So are you comfortable with the language? If yes, then it moves up on your priority order. If no, then it moves down on your priority order. Now, how do you determine your familiarity with the subject matter and your comfort with language? A lot of people end up reading just the first few lines of the passage to decide this. That is not the right way out. So what I want you to do is, I want you to give yourself 15 seconds. I personally give myself 10 seconds. So I actually take 10 seconds per passage. You can try doing it in 10. Otherwise, initially, these are mocks, mind you. You can also allocate 15 seconds. In these 10 seconds, I read the first couple of lines of every paragraph. And if you think that, no, that is not working out for you, read a few lines from the middle of the passage. Not the beginning, but the middle. And those few lines that you've read, either from the middle of the passage or a couple of lines of every paragraph, they should inform you about the subject matter and the language. Additionally, you may also look at the length of the passage. So nowadays, most of the passages that we get are around 450, 470 words long, but last year we did notice a larger variation. There were a couple of passages which were distinctly smaller. So the smaller the passages, the better it is for you, provided it still carries the same number of questions. So I typically allocate 10 seconds per passage, so that's 40 seconds for all the 4 passages. So the very first passage that I look at the subject matter, language and length, form an image of the difficulty level in my mind, and here is a technique that I use. I give the first passage 6 marks, right? Then I move over to the next passage and I compare it in terms of the difficulty with the first one. So if the next passage is more difficult, then I may give it a 7 or an 8 or a 9 or a 10, whatever. On the other hand, if the subsequent passage turns out to be easy, then I may assign it a 5 or a 4 or a 3 or a 2 or a 1. I may even get into negatives. And then I repeat the process for the other 2 passages as well. So by the end of this process, every passage has been allocated a number. And now I know that I need to go from the smallest number to the largest number. That's my priority order. You should do that as well. And then when it comes to verbal ability, now out of the 4, parajumbles for the last few years have been non-MCQs, Theta. So this is something that you definitely attempt. Even if you don't have time, mark a random sequence and then someday later I'll tell you about certain sequences which are high frequency when you solve them. Probably you can pick up one of those sequences. But mark, you're definitely going to answer these because there is no negative marking. For the other 3, it depends. For example, paragraph odd one out, there have been years when they were non-MCQs, years when they were MCQs. So that changes the equations. But you definitely are going to attempt parajumbles. Of the remaining 3, you need to now determine which question type are you more comfortable with. So far you've been preparing for weeks and weeks, months and months. Do you know your accuracy rate in each one of these question types? If yes, then you know the type where your accuracy rate is higher is the one which is easier for you. Apart from it, are you also aware of the time that it takes you to answer one of these questions typically? So I'm saying be aware of it. And the reason is, let us say that when you work on, say, a paragraph odd one out question at home, and it takes you around 90 seconds today. So that's the kind of time that you need to allocate to this particular question in the exam as well. If you try to go faster than this, you may end up getting it wrong. So that can trouble you. So be aware of your accuracy rates and the average amount of time that you spend. So the ones where your time taken is less, or the ones where your accuracy is higher, they are the ones that go higher on priority. Okay, and then now let's also tackle this question that a lot of people ask me, and that is, sir, what should I do? Attempt RC first or attempt VA first? Now this requires us to think long, think hard, think deep, and chances are that you will not find a one definitive answer outside. But you are working with me, right? I'm going to tell you how I approach it. So here is my sequence that I have fine-tuned after writing mocks and actual CAT exams over the years. So this is the sequence in which I approach the VA section. And I'll tell you why I follow this particular approach. So the moment I open the section, so you notice whether you're writing the CAT or the mock, there is a tab that allows you to open the entire paper. I click on that tab, I open the entire paper, I straight away scroll to the summary questions. Now, why summary questions? I think of summary questions as warm-up for RCs. Why do I think of it as warm-up for RCs? So at the end of the day, the kind of questions that we get in the exam, the summary questions in the exam, these are questions where you are supposed to take out the main idea of every paragraph and then go to the answer choices, isn't it? So I know summary and main idea are different, but in majority of the summary questions in the CAT exam, the summary is actually the main idea, right? And isn't that what we are supposed to do in RC as well, where you read a passage and you take out the key ideas including the main idea? So in a summary question, you do this over a paragraph. In a passage, you are supposed to do the exact same thing over a set of paragraphs, right? The only thing that changes in this respect is the length. So I think this is like, warm up for RC. So that sets me up well. So I will go ahead and attempt those 2 or 3 summary questions that are there in the exam. So now that I am warmed up, I move over to RC. I engage in passage prioritization that I've shared with you earlier. And once I've prioritized the passages, then I will go ahead and attempt 2 to 3 RC passages. Once I'm done with those 2 to 3 RC passages, so I'll definitely attempt 2. Whether I attempt 3rd or not depends on how easy I find that passage. If I think that I'd be able to go through this passage in say around 7-8 minutes, I definitely attempt it at this juncture itself. Then I switch over to paragraph odd one out. I solve these before I solve parajumbles because paragraph odd one out once again is a warm-up for parajumbles. At the end of the day, you need to read 4 sentences and then start thinking of the common theme within which 4 of them can be put under. This approach may not always lead to answers, but at least the thought process remains the same. Half of these questions are actually answered at that level itself. So that is why I typically start with this. Now that I've warmed up for paragraphs, I'd switch over to parajumbles. So then the para completion questions, and thereafter, time permitting, I move over to attempt the 1 or 2 passages that I am left with. So that is my sequence. Now, does that mean that you also go ahead and attempt questions in this sequence? Not at all. I follow this sequence because I have realized that this is a sequence that works the best for me. My advice for you is, you do you. You have different strengths, you have a different preparation level, and you go ahead and attempt these accordingly. So maybe you are more comfortable with verbal ability today, so you want to start from there. Maybe you are not comfortable with VA, but RC is still something that you're okay with, so you start with RCs. Similarly, I go ahead and attempt all the 24 questions. Should you attempt all the 24? I don't know. Can you attempt 24 comfortably? If yes, do that. If no, don't. In fact, here, let me tell you something really radical. If you are not comfortable with VARC today, you don't find this area your strength, here is my target for you in your next mock exam. And I am recording this in July 24. So my goal for you is to go ahead and attempt 9 questions out of 24. That's it. 40 minutes. Find 9 questions across passages, across VA that you believe you can answer and get them right. And if you can do that, even these 9 questions can put you in the top 10%, there will be 90 percentile, maybe even 95 percentile, who knows. So you do you, and then see, these are mocks, right? The reason behind mocks is so that you can experiment, so that you can go ahead and learn from your mistakes. So don't hesitate in this experimentation. Follow different approaches. Maybe, when you write a section test at your home, treat it as a mock. Apply a particular sequence or a particular strategy, see how it works for you. If it has worked reasonably well, then bring it over to the mock exam, apply it there. And if it continues to work with you, you can stick to it. So you have a good couple of months of experimentation ahead of you. Learn from this, and then you'd be able to come up with a strategy that you can go ahead and finally implement in your actual CAT exam. So just to summarize, you are supposed to go from easy to difficult questions. VA first or RC first is completely your choice. And if you are not comfortable with VA, just target 9 questions. You've seen my sequence and how I move between VA and RC. You too can choose to do that if you so desire, but don't forget to experiment. Do that, and I am very confident that your performance will continue to go up. And that's not it from us. Moving forward, we are going to bring in a lot of sessions for you where you will get to practice some high quality question types with the highest quality faculty members on this channel. So don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification. And hey, before you sign out, do like the video and see your performance zoom way beyond the screen. That's it from me today. Until I meet you next, stay safe, stay focused, stay in touch. Do let me know if you need something more in the comments below. Until the next time, take care.